about the fatherhood legacy. And we've got a great conversation, dialogue, and some real key points planned out for you tonight. So basically just want to let you know what's going to happen. We're going to show this film for an hour. We're going to ask you, and the filmmaker, John Medalman, who speaks on fatherhood issues around the globe, is going to give you a little bit of insight into the film, how he made it, why he made it, and the kind of impact that it's had. Charles Anderson, who's a chair of pediatrics at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, is actually the instigator to this wonderful event. He's the one that inspired us to all come here. This is where he gets his haircut. If it's good enough for Dr. A, then it's good enough for any of us.
One of the things I do want to mention, let me introduce Omar Omalade. I've known Omar for about 20 years. That's my barber. Followed him through many different locations, and we've talked about doing things like this for about 20 years. We talked about the unique opportunity when guys get into places like barbershops that we talk about all types of stuff. It's just a comfortable place to have conversations about just about anything. So it seemed logical to try to marry that with a real subject that people, especially guys, that we're really struggling with, and that's the idea about being fathers.
It's not a question of whether our own father's legacy impacts us. It's a question of how, because we all have a legacy. We all carry the good stuff and the bad stuff, and the question is how aware are you of that legacy, and also what are you doing about it? That's where a lot of, and I'm hoping that tonight after the film we can talk a little bit more about that. Specifically, how is that legacy affecting you as a man in positive ways? What are the gifts you got from your dad, even if he wasn't there? And what are the liabilities? What are the things you carry, the mistakes that were made that you don't want to make, either with your own children or just with the next generation? I hope tonight you can take something. If you take anything away from here, it's to think about our role as men for the next generation of boys and girls, especially boys, teaching them, talking about what does it mean to be a man, but what does it mean to be a father? I thought about this recently talking to my 4-year-old. Nobody ever talked to me, no men, not to knock you, Dave, but no men, it just wasn't part of the conversation, talked to me as a boy about what a dad is, what a dad does, let alone what fatherhood means to him as an adult. And I think that's a conversation that's missing with boys. Explicitly saying, here's what the qualities of a good dad are. Here's the qualities of a good man. And you know what? You have them. This is what I see in you. There is no greater gift than you can give to a child, especially a boy, than to say, you've got what it takes.
I want to ask a few guys just to tell us now, just to kind of raise your hand and let the group know, speak really loudly, let this group know, why did you come here tonight on this cold January evening?
The reference point I did have was that my father was in the picture, and that most of the people growing up in the neighborhood would call him, Bobby. And so for me, I remember growing up in that. Most of the folks around, they tell me how lucky I was. And I'm like, oh, come on, man, just mean I get hit twice. But it was as I grew up and when I had children, I finally really got to look at that and see what it was for him to play that role of being there, regardless of whatever the situation may have been, of being there and making that kind of commitment to his children. And so, yeah, so that's why I came tonight, and just to be around other fathers, because that isn't something that you do see a lot or even embraced in such fashion. So.